We're here today, gathered with Paws and the Masons militia, the 7th Mason militia. God knows about those first six, man. Whew. In Colors of the Rainbow. Anyways, inside here, I don't necessarily need them to be this kind of high end. We can do this for dirt cheap, I'm sure. But as far as the system inside here, if you want anything ever to be a Hydron Collider, you're going to need some kind of sensor work on side of this just to deal with the amount of information you're dealing with. Essentially, 100 million collisions a second, right? It's all happening there. It's easy going down, air molecules touching the saw is moving. We can simplify this quite a bit down to the grid metrics there or dot plot. Anyways, um, this is dirt cheap as far as what you considered paycheck by frame rate on what it'll take to hook this up to. I don't think you're missing off on what the storage limits are. That's not me to really go digging up a lot of what the whole system would be. But where would I rig them up so I got the best view? I got one inside the door, outside the door, make sure the loader never touches anything but what it's supposed to, or the skid steer for that matter. Pallets in and out, make sure they're wedged up, doing their thing. Moving around, I would probably allow me to move a fresh pallet out from the setup because I'm not going to beat them up too much. But even if I wanted to toss away a rock, I didn't like it and just sent it over the hillside. Anyway, oh well, it's a I got word today that we're bringing up recuts, which I wish he would have started with the recuts for what it was. I kind of wish we didn't send those 2 or 3 pallets that we had, but that was their system. They, even if they knew me or heard some things about me, they didn't know anything as far as what that would be, and that's a fair ball for the time frame on what it is. I hear we're getting a new rock quarry. We got to test it out. It's nice to have a good fast burn. Something I don't have to, as long as they're not too slant reedy when you put them into the saw, and you line up that block considerably well, even if it's got some gnarly mosaics in it, as long as it's solid rock, it should burn. And the edges might be a little bit questionable. It might be a pattern rock situation, but you're looking for threes anyways. Threes are better, which I've just decided in the game. I'm going to put the threes in any. I mean, I don't even like 4-foot pattern, to be perfectly honest, unless there's an order for it. I mean, I could always rock back a couple of treads, if a pallet of treads, if I really needed to lay them down, because they're essentially the same thing, short of size, and turn it into a pattern or just whatever call you gotta. All right, is that fair ball? We prioritizing what's in line with any kind of. For me, I'm used to just running a whole thing of order. A whole big old clipboard. Which I got one of them laying around. I should grab it. And again, work your cut coast too. Not just the big end. The big ends just happen. But, when you're, yeah, again, well, back to this stuff about making sure that you're, I like Mike and I like Mike. Mike the Sawyer, and I like Mike the security guy or safety guy. You come around, you need gloves, you got everything that you need. So how do you want to make the job as easy as possible for them to be able to actually field it with a cell phone and text messages right then and there on the mill floor about what's going down and how you set this up? How do you hook that thing up? There we go. How are we hooking that thing up to what's its headquarters system on flash drives if necessary? That you pop one in, you pop one out, you do the hokey pokey. But I'm sure there's got to be a TV screen around here somewhere with a USB port, man. And as far as that, the data storage, what are your, this kind of unit could probably do other things as well, depending on, how far away from the signal it is, or, how you're breaking that down. It starts with little things like insurance and stuff like that. Like, you want your guys skid steer operator qualified that somebody actually saw it. And in order to reduce that in a lot of ways, well, when you go to reevaluate things because of cutcos, cutbacks, new rock, the way the process is and was, time fraud, work fraud standards, And again, it's important to note that I said both those words right next to each other all the time. Now, I'm going to usually have to do the time fraud argument more so than the work fraud argument, based on when things are reevaluated. Just let me tell everybody as a Mason, there's a lot to that marshmallow exchange that goes into the semi-imperial bandwidth of where you are, what that's going, base to height, up the slope, and what's going down before you ever touch or cut a rock like that, from word, photon, massless, to being there to what its defined mass is in that form. Again, I'm a little bit of quantum physicist here coming at you, so if that's not your field of expertise, I'm just going to be I'm going to stop the clock this morning. I got to prime the pump. I come in and she wasn't primed, so I had to prime up the pump, and then the left button on the hand control didn't work, so I whipped out my utility blade, and I thought I had some black tape in my bag, but I guess I didn't, so I got to bring some in. But anyways, I cut it down, took my wire strippers out, and wadded her up into, she's a working operating saw this morning, and she was good. I made a good solid connection, and I made sure that the duct tape did the hell out of it, so make sure it didn't go. I mean, most of the time it's soaking wet anyway, so until we find a better solution to that mechanical failure happening, you got an issue. And beyond that, we can park her there. That's a plenty of a to-do list for the day about, whatever's going down. And on me, that is a true thing, because, when you start looking for those raises in promotion, where does the rock grind come out and into some kind of service or maintenance? And with that said, what is already a devoted system, much like cutting up the rock, it's still work. I don't necessarily, if I don't know the books, then you don't really understand it. Had to go talk to Matt and make sure I understood where grade was gonna be. I should put it like that, because I want Matt to send me all that stuff down to that chop saw, and I'll just palletize it up here as far as what it is. Depends on how much there is, meaning the size of the yard I could make out of that material. We could keep running them like this, 2s and 1s on one side of a pallet and 18s on the other. It's not exactly perfectly on the pallet, just a little bit, like half an inch on each side, but the forks touch it and it's game over. Or if you consolidate in one way or the other, there's a special way to do it. It's been a while, so those first pallets out there in the yard are not going to be it right off the hop, but it only takes me, it takes a full day to make a pallet of pattern if we're running pattern hard. It's not even going to be a pallet a day of that if we're hitting treads hard. And beyond that, you got that's the system. I'm certainly the outdoor finisher, skid steer operator, chop saw, thermaler, and into the mix the table saw. It's just, Mike is, I've always had that with Sawyers and Veer, whoever. Veer would have been a big one for it. Vandermark over to Tompkins. Hope he's still running. But anyways, they just do that. It's something I've had to have accumulated the 5 foots over to Delaware Basin and stuff like that, full programs of all 5 of those, rolling down the rock, unloading them as they're cutting and stuff like that. So that's what I know exists out there. I have seen those things. They're not that far off as a drive, and it's something I worry about. I've set foot in Shursky's. I've been around. Johnson and Rhodes is closed down. They had 2 of those 5-footers running with 4 table saws like that, plus big. Well, we were wound up running on bottles anyways. The water started to go. I left. I come back. They fixed stuff. Still gave me the same. Yeah. Any rate, just in a moment, right? See how we balls deep into this Baconator we really are. The gamma beta radiation.
Chinese. I grew up not knowing what it was.
There was one I saw in them shorts today. Come on. I was like, what's the name of that animal in there? Venom Moose. Hi, Venom Moose. How you doing today?
Way better. I wasn't ignorant to the fact, I knew somebody else did have it, but I did grow up not knowing not one person, and it did.
Anyways. The water.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem.
In between cold water, ice cold, and boiling, you'd figure I could stick my hand in ice water for a while. liquid nitrogen, feel good about it.
And what I'm going to sort of walk through is what we're seeing in the numbers. There is a sense
there's a difference. Sea level, 70, 80, 90, starts to get up in that 140 degrees in the jacuzzi, right?
For those who were complaining about the caps, the spending reductions, and the recent debt ceiling,
go on,
for those who wanted more over here,
I want to hear you do it in front of them. See him squeak.
Sisters around this place that didn't think any of it was necessary, I need to break through and help this place get its head around the fact
FM 3-0 isn't just multi-domain battlefield. You see, what it is,
remember,
is
your
a simile of life. It's taken on Einstein
an insurance
and the boss.
Company with an army.
Right. They'll teach you red and yellow field chart. What there actually is a red, orange, yellow. Between the two, there are other. I can see it in his hands right now. Orange, got it.
Your 40 quarters. Veterans benefits.
Right.
You get certain
court
things
colors are where a lot of people mess up that standard model. It's pitch rolling yaw twice. If I'm burning rockets, I'm always moving with that. So my step foot moves, then I gotta operate with that.
Matter of fact, it's almost radioactive around here if we tell the truth that it's the vast, vast, vast majority of spending.
Here's what we know of the stone
mill. So I'm going to do some of this backwards.
The stone mill.
A week ago Friday,
well, this cowboy lives down there, and I don't think he's going to do real well with that
Bloomberg Intelligence. You have to sort of go to the Bloomberg terminal to get this, but I subscribed to a couple things where I got the top line. And have you ever started to read something and you go, oh my God, what are they talking about? That number can't be real. And then you
2 or 3
bother someone who has an actual Bloomberg terminal and they pull the full print out on it.
Something like that.
Here's the reality.
Yeah, this 35, you're the guy
killer. Don't know how to get the folks to actually understand the math. The Bloomberg Intelligence, the two economists said their model, because Bloomberg has this fairly fancy model, just like we do at Joint Tax, at CBO, the Tax Foundation. Everyone has their models.
Followed up by Zazel, Rafi, or
their model.
Regular Lou. I can't.
Said in 10 years we're at 130% of debt to GDP. Now understand, the cuts we just did, the rebalancing, the flattening, the slowing down, the debt growth. I could never have that
conversation short of this.
That we just
the whisper out
through
here on
in
the
debt
internet,
ceiling.
in case he does
we sort of took ourselves
from
119% of the size of the economy at the end of the decade, or 10 years from now, to around 114. And that's a big deal.
Jordan.
You figure 10 years from now you have a $39 trillion economy,
right? We just keep
1%, that's
all
real
the
money.
Stories of all Jezebel.
So we pulled it down from 119 to 114. Yay! And in fact, I think
so, there's some things there, Ball. I like Jezebel. I'm sure she was just playing the game. Well, it's already in. So, I mean, for me, Mary, Jody, the rest of them,
interest
it's
is
just
dramatically higher.
You, on the other hand, Ball, right? Ball, you with me today? We got Dave. Dave's out here with us.
They also see healthcare costs growing faster and larger. And if you actually think about the reading you've done this last week, because I know all of us around here read the
get the carpenter. I get that carpenter. That happens all the time.
Sorry, I was going to get sarcastic.
I'm
trying to dial that
starting
back.
to debate on
you start
things.
To see we're seeing this huge, very substantial spike in Medicare spending. Turns out a lot of our seniors actually had postponed lots and lots and lots of procedures. You just saw one of the major health companies that caters to Part D.
There was that one day,
their
Mikey.
stock just took
I've already tossed my muffs once. Get the fuck out of my ear, dude. I'm trying to cut on the saw. You got
then they
bad
had some other
senses
interesting things
about
in there.
it.
So,
taking my step the best I can.
Dramatically.
I don't have the kids. This is not my credit. You're not teaching me something. I'm sure that they would love me with a brand new car payment and a house payment and everything like that. You just take that up with the third amendment, boss, for me, please.
Discretionary spending is $700 billion. Okay? We functionally just removed $100 billion. So now it's $600 billion. Just that reduction.
You just keep on screaming their ear. I'll be out there. When you're thinking about the new statue,
that next year,
you have to get past
the
me.
GDP growth will be down a whole 0.5%.